Lieutenant Marcus Hawley leaned forward in the pilot's seat of the Artemis, his eyes tracing the rippling violet clouds that swirled around Vitalari's upper atmosphere. The planet's unique electromagnetic fields painted the horizon in shifting hues, a kaleidoscopic dance that no living thing, not even the most advanced holographic projector, could fully replicate. Yet tonight, the beauty weighed heavy on Marcus. Beneath that luminescent veil, someone was in desperate need of help. His console chimed again, a shrill reminder that time was not his ally. The distress beacon had come online less than an hour ago, an artifact of ancient design, its signal pulsing with a rhythmic code that none of the ship's OI had ever cataloged. But it had a human override, a simple SOS. Marcus tapped a few commands, routing the signal through the ship's sensors. Signal strength is optimal, he reported to Commander Arinzo, who watched silently from the co-pilot's chair. Location is just above the Crystal Forest, quadrant 42-9. Arinzo nodded. Good. Dr. Voss is down there. She's mapping the Vashatal ruins. This could be her final transmission. Marcus swallowed hard. Alara Voss, the mission's lead archaeologist, was among the most brilliant minds in xenoanthropology. She'd spent the last 3 months unearthing the buried history of a civilization that vanished thousands of years ago. Her discoveries had already rewritten textbooks. Now, she was reporting on the very heart of a Vashatal settlement, and something had gone terribly wrong. The dropship disengaged from the mothership's hull with a soft clunk, and Marcus guided it through the thinning clouds. Every fiber of his being hummed with adrenaline. He performed a quick systems check. Engines, shields, life support all green. Below, the crystal forest came into view, towering formations of violet quartz that refracted the moonlight into spectral arcs. The ground shimmered as if the planet itself were breathing. Brace for atmosphere entry, Marcus called out. The ship rattled as it pierced the upper layers, the quartz shards scraping along the hull like distant thunder. He steadied his trembling hands on the controls. Hold steady. They pierced the strata without incident and touched down beside a shattered monolith. The dropship's ramp hissed open, revealing a landscape both alien and strangely inviting, until Marcus's scanners lit up with a flurry of red warnings. Movement, heat signature, human life signs, but faint. Commander, I'm reading a single life form with low vitals, he said. Probably Voss. Arinzo gave a curt nod. Suit up. Let's bring her home. Marcus secured his helmet and stepped off the ramp into the crystalline dusk. His boots crunched on glittering shards, each footstep unleashing tiny tremors across the quartz field. The air tasted faintly metallic, tinged by the energizing hum of the planet's storms. He swept his flashlight across the ruins. Fragments of statues, mosaics of iridescent tiles, and half buried in fractured stone, a figure curled against the base of the monolith. Alara? He called. His voice echoed strangely, swallowed by the crystalline canopy. The space archaeologist looked up with bloodshot eyes, her dark hair tangled with dust. She tried to smile but faltered. Lieutenant, you shouldn't have come. Marcus closed the last meters in 3 strides, kneeling beside her. I couldn't leave you out here. She winced as he gently lifted her to her feet. Marcus noted the shallow cut across her forehead, and the way her shoulders sagged. She was in pain, but alive. He scanned her vitals with his wrist-mounted device. Heartbeat rapid but steady. Breathing shallow but regular. Got a medkit here, he said, pulling a silver case from his belt. Let's get you patched up. Alara accepted it with a grateful nod, pressing a hand to her side where a jagged bruise spread beneath her jacket. She began, voice wavering. I was so close. The central chamber, it's incredible, Marcus. I found inscriptions. A crack of distant thunder snapped the moment, shaking loose more quartz shards. Marcus steadied her as dust rained down around them. "We'll get back to the Artemis and you can tell me everything." She tried to step forward, but stumbled. Marcus slid an arm around her waist and hoisted her. "Easy," he murmured, carrying her toward the ramp. Behind them, the monolith's carvings caught the light-strained glyphs that marked this land as sacred, ancient warnings etched in a long-forgotten tongue. Marcus didn't understand what they said, but the planets seemed to watch as they retreated, silent witness to a ritual as old as the stars. Once safely aboard, the dropship's hatch sealed with a hiss. Marcus gently laid Alara on a biobed and activated the medical programs. She closed her eyes, pain overtaken by relief as the nanites in her medkit swarmed to heal bruises and staunch bleeding. Marcus lingered at her side, glancing out the viewport at the crystalline forest fading into the distance. He knew this rescue would earn him commendations, perhaps even a promotion. But more than that, he felt a strange pull of promise written in the very stones of Vitalari that he could not yet decipher. And so, as the dropship ascended to reunite with the Artemis, neither Marcus nor Alara saw the slender silhouette observing their departure from the shadows of the monolith Anne, envoy of an alien culture whose ancient laws would soon bind their fates forever. The hatch of the dropship sealed with a pneumatic hiss, enclosing Lieutenant Marcus Hawley and Dr. Alara Voss in a soft, humming glow. The antiseptic scent of recycled air filled the cabin as Marcus secured Alara onto the biobed's cradle. Her breathing was shallow but steady. The nanite-infused gel packs had already begun stabilizing her wounds. "Just hold still," Marcus murmured, pressing the pack gently against her ribs where a jagged bruise sharpened each inhale. "It's going to sting a little." Alara clenched her teeth. "Worth it," she whispered. "I wasn't going to let some ancient trap stop me." Marcus's jaw tightened. He'd seen his fair share of archaeological overconfidence, but Alara's passion was as infectious as it was reckless. He finished fastening the pack and checked her vitals again. "You're going to be fine," he assured her. "Navigator's already plotting a return course. We'll be back on the Artemis in minutes." She managed a weak nod, her dark eyes reflecting gratitude and something else he couldn't quite place. Before he could ask, the ship lurched as it left the planet's gravity well, stars stretching into white streaks as they punched through the atmosphere dot in the cabin's rear. The ancient monolith's distress beacon winked out of Marcus's scanner. Signals gone quiet good. No chance of any automated defense kicking back on. Alara turned her head to look out the viewport. Below them, Vitalari's crystal forests receded beneath a blanket of violet mist. The planet's twin moons hung low, one silver and full, the other a pale lavender sliver. "I could spend a lifetime studying this world," she said, her voice hushed. "And I would if I weren't trapped in a biobed." Marcus allowed himself a small smile. "When you're up and about, I'll sign you up for extra field ops." She laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "No more field ops. Next time, I'll bring my own repulsor lift boots." He sat on the edge of her biobed. "Coffee when we land?" he offered. "And then a full debrief." Alara's expression softened. "Coffee sounds like heaven," she murmured. "You know, Marcus, you didn't have to come yourself." He shrugged, leaning back. "Protocol says any distress call overrides rank. Besides, I promised." She met his gaze, and for a moment the cabin's clinical lights dimmed in her eyes. "Thank you," she said simply. The ship shuddered as it docked with the Artemis's starboard bay, docking clamps extending like metal fingers. Marcus keyed his comm. Bay secured. Med team, prepare to receive. Moments later, the hatch cycled open and 2 flight nurses floated in. Marcus gently helped Alara off the biobed, guiding her to the medical cradle they prepared in the bay's infirmary. He watched as the nurses swarmed around her like caretakers tending a fragile flame. Stepping back, Marcus let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. He closed his eyes, recalling Ilara's pained groan, the way her hand had gripped. His uniform. She was safe. Lieutenant Holly? Commander Arinzo's voice crackled over his comm. Report to the bridge. I want a full account of the mission and what the hell happened down there. Marcus straightened. On my way, sir. He paused at the infirmary door and looked back at Ilara, who gave him a small, reassuring smile. He poked out a thumb in acknowledgement, then turned and jogged toward the turbolift. The bridge was its usual symphony of beeping consoles and distant chatter. Marcus strode to the center station, where Commander Arinzo and the senior officers waited. A holomap hovered above a recessed table, Vitellari glowing at its core. Report, Arinzo commanded. Marcus saluted. We descended to the target coordinates quadrant 42-9, just south of the Crystal Forest monolith. Dr. Voss had tripped an ancient pressure plate, a cascade of razor shards and energy discharges designed as a defense mechanism by the Vashiatl. He paused, remembering Ilara's wide-eyed shock. I arrived within 2 minutes of her last beacon, carried her back to the dropship. Injuries were moderate lacerations, a concussion, and bruising. Medkit nanits are already stabilizing her. Arinzo frowned at the holomap. Any sign of sentient guardians, automated turrets? The planet's database hinted at possible still active defenses. Marcus shook his head. None detected, sir. But the magnetic resonance around the ruins suggests an active energy field, low power, but persistent. I'd recommend we send in a full scan team before any further landings. Ilara's voice crackled over his comm. Marcus? He hit the headset button. Yes, Doctor? Thank you for coming. Marcus glanced at Arinzo, who allowed a tight nod before looking away. Marcus cleared his throat. Anything else? Ilara? Says the inscriptions reference a sacred covenant, Marcus relayed. Arinzo's eyes narrowed. A covenant? Marcus repeated the phrase she'd whispered between gasps. Sacred covenant. Arinzo squared his shoulders. Noted. We'll chart a safer approach. In the meantime, you're off duty. Get some rest. As Marcus left the bridge, the weight of those 2 words settled on him. Sacred covenant. He had no idea what they meant. But the monolith's silent witness on the planet below seemed to have taken note and would not soon forget. 3 days later, the Artemis hovered silently above Vitellari's surface, its engines muted as a delegation of Vashiatl envoys prepared to beam aboard. Lieutenant Halle stood in the ship's main atrium, uniform crisp, posture rigid. Across from him, Dr. Ilara Voss sat quietly in a hollow projection chair, still recuperating but eager-eyed. Between them, a shimmering portal of pale light wavered. The lead envoy stepped through first, a tall, sinuous figure garbed in translucent robes that rippled like liquid glass. Its skin glowed faintly lavender, and its eyes were pools of liquid silver. Beside it, 2 others adopted respectful bows. The air thrummed with their silent power. Lieutenant Marcus Halle intoned the lead envoy in a voice like wind through hollow crystal. By the decree of the Vashiatl Covenant, you are summoned to honor the right of Nushella. Marcus swallowed. I'm not sure what you mean. The envoy tilted its head. You rescued Ilara Voss from mortal peril. Upon our sacred soil. Under Vashian law, the bond between Savior and saved is sanctified as marriage. The rite is to be performed at the dawn of the twin moon's eclipse. Dr. Voss's hand flew to her mouth. Marcus, I tried to warn you. Marcus glanced between her and the envoys, heart pounding. Across the room, Commander Arinzo and the senior officers watched in stunned silence. This had to be a misunderstanding, some ceremonial courtesy, perhaps not an actual marriage. The envoy raised a slender hand, and the murals on the atrium walls flickered to life. celestial maps, starships drifting past nebulae, and at their center, a looping figure of two silhouettes entwined beneath twin moons. Ancient Vashiatal script, scrolled beneath. He who gives life pledges life forevermore. Alara stood, trembling but resolute. "Lieutenant, I accept this bond," she said softly. "If the Vashiatal law sees fit to join us, then I will stand by you provided you consent." Marcus's chest tightened as he met her gaze. In that moment, he saw not obligation, but trust that he would protect her, stand with her, and face whatever lay ahead. He recalled the weight of the monolith's glyphs, the silent witness hidden in the quartz forests, and the bond he felt forming between them since that day. He drew a slow breath and stepped toward Alara. "I consent," he said, steadying his voice. "Not out of custom alone, but because I want to stand beside you always." At his words, the envoys bowed deeply. The murals dimmed, replaced by a holographic dais at the atrium's center. Two ceremonial bands appeared, crafted from strands of glowing crystal. The lead envoy retrieved them and approached, holding one out to Marcus. "Place this upon her wrist, savior of Vashiatal," it intoned. Marcus took the crystal band, its surface smooth and warm, and slipped it onto Alara's wrist. She closed her eyes as its glow pulsed gently against her skin. The envoy then took Marcus's hand and affixed the second band to his wrist, the crystal melding seamlessly to his uniform cuff. "In this moment," the envoy proclaimed, "souls entwine beneath the witness of stars, binding Savior to save forever." A hush fell, broken only by the soft hum of the bands. Marcus and Alara stood hand in hand as the envoys withdrew, the portal closing behind them. Commander Arinzo exhaled, stepping forward. "Congratulations, Lieutenant," he said quietly, awe in his tone. "I've never seen anything like that." Alara smiled, her violet eyes bright. "Neither have I," she admitted, "but somehow it feels right." Marcus nodded, heartful. The arid chill of duty had given way to something warmer love forged in cosmic law. And as the Artemis carried them away from Vitellari once more, he knew their journey was only beginning, bound by an alien covenant, destined to explore the stars hand in hand. The upper observation deck of the Artemis was bathed in ethereal light. Through the panoramic viewport, Vitellari's twin moons had aligned in perfect eclipse, a spectral halo shining through the crystalline haze below. The soft hum of the ship's engines was the only sound as Marcus Halle guided Dr. Alara Voss to the center of the deck, where a temporary altar of woven silvery fiber awaited them. Alara's gown shimmered like liquid moonlight, each fold catching and scattering the pale glow. Marcus wore the Vashiatal ceremonial tunic, an elegant white vestment that draped over his uniform, its collar inlaid with miniature quartz filaments that pulsed in time with his heartbeat. Around them, the senior officers and a handful of scientific staff formed a loose circle, their faces solemn yet rapt with wonder. Solaris, the Vashiatal envoy who had first delivered the sacred decree, hovered beside the makeshift altar. Its silvery eyes reflected the eclipse as it raised a slender arm, summoning 3 crystalline orbs that floated in a triangular formation above the altar. Inside each orb danced a flicker of starlight. By the light triad of Vashiatal, Solaris intoned, its voice echoing like distant chimes. "We witness your union. You stand between past and future, human and alien, bound by honor and heart." Marcus reached for Alara's hand. She gave his fingers a gentle squeeze, eyes bright with emotion. Solaris produced 2 slender wands tipped with the same quartz that blanketed the planet below. The lead envoy dipped one wand into the first orb. A filament of starlight flowed down its length and coalesced into a fine strand of luminous thread. "Alara Voss," Solaris declared, "do you accept Marcus Halle as your consort, pledging to share in triumph and trial, life and discovery? Alara lifted her chin. Her voice, though soft, carried through the chamber. I do, with all my being, on this world and beyond. The envoy nodded, guiding Alara to wrap the starlit thread around Marcus's wrist. It wound snugly, then faded from sight, its promise sealed in the bond itself. Next, Solaris turned to Marcus, drawing a strand from the second orb. Marcus Hale, do you accept Alara Voss as your partner, promising protection, loyalty, and love beneath all stars? Marcus met Alara's gaze, heart pounding. He took a steadying breath. I do, from this moment and into every tomorrow. He wound the luminous thread around Alara's wrist, the glow settling into her skin like an ember of living light. A hush swept through the gathered crew, human and alien alike, as the final orb dissolved, releasing a shower of motes that drifted like snowflakes in zero gravity. Solaris raised its arms. By the covenants of Vashiatl and the spirits of your homeworlds, I pronounce you bound. May your union guide all who traverse the cosmos. Soft applause rippled around the deck. Commander Arinzo stepped forward, offering a proud salute. Well said, envoy, and congratulations to both of you. The stars have witnessed few unions so profound. Alara leaned in to whisper, best wedding I've ever had. Marcus laughed, the sound rich with relief and joy. Moments later, the formalities concluded. The crew began a quiet celebration. A replicator materialized trays of exotic fruits that glowed faintly from their own bioluminescence. A string quartet, a holographic ensemble, played a gentle waltz of Vashiatl origin. Marcus led Alara into the dance, held close as she rested her head against his chest. Outside, through the viewport, the two moons separated again, unveiling Vitellari's crystalline landscape in sapphire twilight. Together, they watched the planet's glowing forests and jagged peaks stretch out below, a reminder of the extraordinary world that had brought them together. In that serene moment, Marcus realized that their greatest adventure lay not merely in the uncharted reaches of space, but in the life they would build side by side, two hearts united by fate, law, and above all, love.